Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth video on SQL Server. We are learning about the data types in SQL Server. Today we'll learn about the datetime data type. These data types mentioned into the ascending order. That in time data type will store only time in that column. In date will able to store the date only. Whatever the value we pass, like if we have passed the timestamp of any value, it will just time will just store the time out of that time that timestamp, and the date column would only pick the date of that timestamp. The small date time will pick a date and time both, but the date time can store up to 1 minute accuracy. Like it cannot store the second values. It will store up to like first minute of hour, second minute of hour, third minute of hour. It won't store the second. But there is a date time data type. In date time we can store up to we can store the seconds only, seconds also, but up to 1000 part of the second, like up to millisecond we can store. In date time too we can store up to 1 nanosecond. We'll just mention here time date. In small date time the least we can store is minute, and least we can store is millisecond, and the least we can store is nanosecond. We'll just see in the practical. Where we'll just create one table dt underscore test. First column would be having date data type, second would be having time data type, third would be having small date time, fourth would be having date time, and fifth would be having date time too. And we'll try to insert some value. In getDate is the internal function of the SQL Server which can give us the current timestamp of the system. Like in getDate, we'll get this current date and time. We'll try to insert. For all the columns, we are inserting the same value, but it will pick up to what it can store. We'll see that. Okay, the row got stored. As we have passed the whole timestamp, but the first column took the date out of it, the second column took the time out of it, and third column take the date time, but we can see it's logging only minute, 51 minute 00 second, and for date time data type it took 50 minutes 36 second and up to 0.023 milliseconds, and for date time 2 it took 50 minutes 36 second and up to nanoseconds. That's the difference between the least count is the difference of all data type, but apart from that the small date time and date time has some limitations storing the date. Like we can see, for small date time, if we want to store the date of 2024 1st January 2024, if you want to store, yes, it's able to store. But what if you want to store 1st January 1600? It is giving the error, out of range error. Out of range error means the value we passing to that column is correct, like data type is correct, but that data type cannot handle that range of value, means it exceeding the limit of that data type. Then what is the limit for small date and date time? We'll have just one column here, one table here. For small date time, we cannot store value older date older than 1st January 1900 and value after 6 June 2079. And for date time, we cannot store the value older than 1st January 1735 and upper limit is 31st December 9999. And also we'll just see the memory, how much memory each data type is taking. Date would be taking 3 bytes, time would be taking 5 bytes of data, small date time is taking 4 bytes, date time is taking 8 bytes, and small date time 2 is taking 8 bytes of data. But while designing the data type, we just keep in mind that if our application needs to store the values older than these mentioned limits, we'll simply go with date time 2. That's it for today, guys. Thank you. We'll meet in the next lecture.